All right, everybody, welcome back to Talk Tickers. We are diving into some earnings today. Freshpet's Q4 and full year 2024 earnings call.
Yeah, and they had a really strong year.
They did. They really did.
Like really, really strong.
So let's just jump right in, give everybody a little bit of a summary of what went on here.
Yep.
They saw a pretty big jump in net sales for Q4, like 22%, to get them up to $262.7 million.
Which is impressive.
Yeah, and then for the full year, they hit almost $1 billion, $975 million in net sales, which is a 27% increase.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting is that this growth that we're seeing is driven almost entirely by volume.
Right.
Which means people are buying more Freshpet.
That's a good point.
They're not just paying higher prices.
Yeah, that's one thing to raise prices, but when you're actually selling more product, that's the real story there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another thing is that, we talked about these capacity constraints that they were dealing with in the past, and it seems like they're starting to ease a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like they're getting that figured out.
So they're going to be able to ramp up production and meet this growing demand.
Yeah, there's that demand. They need to meet it. This is good news.
Absolutely.
Okay, there's a lot of good stuff going on here, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Give me some more takeaways. What else stood out to you about this?
Well, I think one of the big ones is that Freshpet is officially profitable.
Okay.
They reported positive net income for the first time ever, and they generated $154 million in operating cash flow.
Wow. Okay, that's a great milestone to hit. That must be a good feeling.
Yeah, and they exceeded their 2027 adjusted gross margin target 3 years early.
Okay, now, hold on. For people who are listening to this who might not be familiar with that metric, can you just break that down for us a little bit?
So adjusted gross margin is basically how much money a company makes from each dollar of sales after you take out the cost of goods sold.
Okay.
So for Freshpet, that means how efficiently are they turning their fresh pet food ingredients into profit?
Okay, so they're exceeding that target. That means things are going really well.
Exactly.
Okay.
They're getting more profitable faster than anyone anticipated.
So how are they doing this? How are they becoming so efficient?
Well, one of the key things is their focus on household penetration,
Okay.
especially among their most valuable pet parents, or as Freshpet likes to call them, MVPs.
Right.
So they added a record 2 million households in 2024, and they're going after these high-spending, loyal pet parents.
Okay, so it's like a very specific subset.
Very specific.
Okay.
And they're willing to spend a lot of money on their pets.
Right.
These MVPs spend an average of $474 a year on Freshpet.
So they're really focusing on a niche and milking it.
Yeah.
Okay, good for them. But is that sustainable? I mean, can they keep doing that?
That's the big question, right?
Right.
So Freshpet's betting big on their capacity expansion to keep pace with the demand and keep their MVPs happy.
So are they saying that they have the capacity to keep growing this MVP group?
Yes. So their 3 existing kitchens are projected to support up to $3 billion in sales when fully built out.
Wow, $3 billion. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So they think they have the capacity to grow this considerably.
Yeah, and they're constantly innovating and finding ways to maximize production within those kitchens.
Wow.
So they're squeezing every ounce of efficiency out of their existing operations.
Okay.
So that's really impressive.
So they're doing a lot to try to keep up with this.
Yeah.
And I know we've also talked about this before, like their retail expansion strategy.
Mm-hmm.
They added over 1,300 new stores in 2024.
Yeah, and what I think is interesting about this is that they're not just trying to get into every store possible.
Right.
They're being very strategic.
Yeah.
They're adding second and third fridges to high-performing locations,
Okay.
and they're experimenting with these larger fridge placements, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so they're really focusing on their existing footprint
Exactly.
and kind of maximizing that instead of just spreading themselves thin.
Exactly. They're playing to their strengths and focusing on areas where they're seeing success.
Okay. And I know they also gave us their projections for 2025 and beyond.
Yeah?
They're forecasting that sales between $1.18 billion and $1.21 billion in 2025.
Which is a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
And they've raised their 2027 adjusted EBITDA margin target to 22%.
Which is huge.
Yeah. And then they said long term, they think they could reach a mid-20s adjusted EBITDA margin.
Yeah, those are some ambitious targets, but given their track record, I think it's possible.
Okay.
It seems within reach.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely seems like they're doing a lot of things right.
They are.
But of course, there are always risks and challenges. So is there anything that stands out to you as far as that goes?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I kind of keyed in on was their approach to the pet specialty channel.
Okay.
So that's been an area where they've been facing some headwinds.
Right.
And they're actually changing things up by switching distribution partners.
Oh, wow. So they're really trying to shake things up.
Yeah, they're hoping that this new partner will give them a fresh start and allow them to kind of tailor their strategy a little bit better to this unique market.
Yeah, it's interesting because the pet specialty channel, I feel like, is one of those that's been kind of, I don't want to say struggling, but
It has been struggling.
it has been struggling.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they're really committed to making it work.
Yeah, they see a lot of potential there.
Okay.
So it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some risks, but also some potentially big rewards.
Absolutely. It's a high risk, high reward situation.
All right. Well, so far we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we have.
They had some amazing revenue and profitability numbers. It sounds like they're really winning over pet parents with this focus on the fresh human grade food.
Absolutely.
And they're expanding their capacity. They're working on their reach.
Yeah.
But of course, there are those risks, like you mentioned, slower growth in the pet food market overall. And we don't know what's going to happen with that pet specialty channel.
Yeah. And of course, guys, remember,
This is not financial advice.
this is not financial advice.
You're just two finance enthusiasts here talking about earnings calls and having some fun, exploring some different ideas.
This is purely for entertainment and educational purposes only.
Yes.
Please do your own research consult with a financial advisor. Make your own informed decisions
Okay.
based on your individual circumstances.
All right. With that being said,
Yes.
let's move on to the fun part.
Let's do it.
Our This is not financial advices segment,
You'll love this part.
where we come up with a totally wild
Buckle up.
but potentially profitable trade idea based on this earnings call.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got Freshpet absolutely killing it, right?
Yeah.
But what if we think bigger here?
Okay.
Like, what if their success is going to benefit somebody else?
Okay.
What about those pet specialty retailers that we were talking about?
Mm-hmm.
What if they stand to gain a lot from Freshpet conquering the pet specialty channel?
So you're thinking instead of investing in Freshpet, we invest in a company that would benefit from their growth.
Exactly. So, like, let's think of a smaller chain, right?
All right.
That already has a relationship with Freshpet.
Mhm.
And they have a strong reputation for like premium pet products.
Right.
And they have a good, loyal customer base.
Yeah.
So they're kind of set up already.
Okay.
But then imagine if they become like the key player
Yeah.
in Freshpet's new distribution strategy.
Like the go-to place
Yeah.
for those Freshpet MVPs.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And their stock is currently undervalued.
Uh-huh.
But if they become synonymous with Freshpet in the minds of those high-spending pet parents,
Yeah.
then their valuation could just explode. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a classic high-risk, high-reward scenario.
Okay, but what could go wrong here? What are we missing?
I mean, the biggest risk is that Freshpet's gamble on the pet specialty channel doesn't pay off.
Right.
What if it flops?
Right? What if this whole thing...
Or the whole category continues to struggle?
Yeah.
This retailer could be left holding the bag.
Right. And also, what about competition? What if somebody else comes in
That's true.
and just totally steals Freshpet's thunder?
Yeah, it's a competitive market.
Yeah.
But Freshpet has a strong brand.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they can hold their own.
Yeah.
So
So we've got this company. They're poised to benefit. How do we play this?
well, I mean, it depends on your risk tolerance, right?
Yeah. Are we talking options? Are we talking just buying the stock straight up?
If you're feeling really bullish
Yeah.
and you're comfortable with high risk, then options
Right.
could offer some significant upside potential.
Yeah. Option is always fun.
Right.
But for somebody who wants to be a little bit more conservative,
Yeah.
I mean, just a straight up stock purchase could still generate some solid returns.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the key is to do your research,
Right?
look into this retailer,
Right.
understand their financials,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of assess their potential for growth.
Yeah.
In light of what Freshpet's doing.
And of course, this is not financial advice. This is all hypothetical.
Yeah, this is just a thought experiment.
Yeah. Just entertainment purposes only.
I always consult with your financial advisor before making any decisions.
Exactly. So we've had some fun exploring this trade idea.
Yeah.
Now let's zoom out a little bit.
Okay.
What are the big takeaways from this whole deep dive?
I mean, I think the biggest one is that Freshpet's a really interesting company.
Yeah.
And they're at the forefront of a major shift in how people are thinking about pet food.
Yeah.
And they're dedicated to fresh human-grade ingredients,
Yeah.
which is resonating with pet parents. And
Yeah.
their growth and their profitability
Mm-hmm.
really suggests that they're on to something special.
It seems like it.
And they're not just resting on their laurels.
Right. They're still expanding and growing. And
They're hungry.
yeah.
And that makes them really compelling.
Yeah.
But of course, there are risks.
Right.
The overall pet food market is facing some challenges. And we don't know what's going to happen with their play in the pet specialty channel.
So to our listeners, keep an eye on those earnings calls.
Yeah.
See how they're progressing.
Track the progress.
And just watch the market, see what happens.
Yeah. And don't forget about those smaller pet specialty retailers.
Yeah. Those could be the dark horses.
They could be.
Okay, so before we sign off,
Yeah.
one final thought.
Uh-huh.
What if Freshpet's biggest growth driver isn't just what they're selling,
Okay.
but how they're selling it?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, think about it, those in-store fridges,
Mm-hmm.
that unique product.
Yeah.
Could they be creating a whole new shopping experience?
Yeah, like picture it, you're walking down the aisle
Yeah.
and it's all just bags and cans of dry food.
Right.
And then boom,
There's the fridge.
brightly lit fridge full of colorful fresh meals
Yeah.
that look like human food, not pet food.
Yeah, it's like a little mini grocery store
Yeah.
right there in the pet food aisle.
Exactly.
It really does grab your attention.
It makes you think this is premium. This is something special.
Yeah, and I know they've been playing around with those larger fridge placements too.
Yeah.
So, they're really leaning into this.
It's smart.
Yeah.
It's like they're not even competing with other pet food brands anymore.
Right, they're competing with the whole concept of traditional pet food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that could really change the industry.
Yeah.
If this keeps working.
Force other brands to step up their game.
Absolutely.
So it's really about the whole experience.
Yeah.
It's not just about the food, it's about how they're presenting it.
It's about the emotional connection that people have with their pets.
Yeah.
And, Freshpet, they get it.
They get it.
They're catering to that.
Yeah, they're the brand for people who see their pets as family.
Exactly.
Well, I think we covered everything.
I think so.
We looked at the numbers.
We dug deep.
We explored some opportunities.
We threw out some crazy trade ideas.
And of course, this was not financial advice, but hopefully everybody listening had fun.
It was fun for me.
Yeah, and learned a thing or two.
Yeah. Always do your research.
Yeah.
Stay informed.
Yep, and until next time,
Happy investing.
keep those portfolios fresh